So, good morning and welcome to Mr. Wizard's Workshop, episode 36. The focus for today is productivity principle number 10. And last week's episode discussed the ninth of a group of core principles. As a reminder, these core personal productivity principles are the mindset, beliefs, paradigms, patterns, mental models, which can be the foundation to build all of your productivity techniques, systems, and practices on. And last week's principle number 9 was choose, don't decide. Real quick recap, what's the difference between choosing and deciding? Isn't that a distinction without a difference? No, it really isn't. It's a subtle mindset shift, but decide has the root word side, which means killing or destruction. So it implies cutting off or killing possibilities, whereas choose implies having multiple options and intentionally selecting the one that best serves you. And this week, productivity principle number 10 is balance organization with restricting creativity. Some people lean towards being very, very structured, whereas other people prefer to have no structure at all. People who like to completely go with the flow and not plan anything in their lives could probably use more structure and organization in their lives. Conversely, people who really love structure and organization, and I would put myself in that category, probably need to have a little bit more go with the flow in their life. The basic idea is a balance. So there's some pretty solid body of research that concludes we have at most 4 hours a day of maximum creativity. So Charles Darwin's work scheduled, he had 3 90-minute work blocks per day. And with that schedule, he wrote 19 books. A very famous mathematician who was also incredibly productive, Henri Poincaré. Here's a quote from him: 4 hours of creative work a day is about the limit for a mathematician. Anthony Trollope, the great 19th century English novelist, he wrote from 5 in the morning to just before 8 before he started his day job. And he published 47 novels over the course of his career. Charles Dickens had a schedule from 9 to 2 with a break for lunch. And then these days, Stephen King's schedule is to write for about 4 hours each day. He's got a target of getting about 1,000 words in. Go with the flow creatives need to stick to some kind of schedule if they actually want to produce a body of creative work that can earn them an audience and a living. But I've noticed they often think that a rigid schedule is the death knell of their creativity. I'd like to point out Charles Dickens and many other highly successful creators did okay with a at least moderately rigid schedule. But yeah, I can actually understand where people are coming from or their concerns specific to time blocking. I've recently had several conversations around this, the mindset of creative people and why a lot of times, at least initially, they think the whole practice of time blocking, scheduling, intentionally scheduling your day out in specific focused time blocks is an anathema to creativity. I think the error there is the idea of carved in stone. If my daily schedule was truly carved in stone, I thought that if I didn't stick with exactly the schedule that I initially laid out in the morning, I would have failed for the day, then I would actually have given up time blocking a long time ago. So that daily schedule that you plan out, focus blocks of time with time blocking, is not etched in stone. Instead, think of it as a pencil drawing that can be easily corrected and adjusted as the image of your day comes into better view. So recap of this principle, which is seek balance between organization and creativity. That would be strive for a Goldilocks balance of structure and creative flow. And the Goldilocks zone is going to be somewhat different for different people. So if you decide to just go with the flow, and I put the emphasis on the just, it'll end up where the flow goes, which is usually downhill, often leading to a big pile of sludge and a life of unhappiness. You'll end up doing what everyone else is doing. This is a quote from Sean Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens, which I think I'll go read because I really like that quote. The counterbalance, and I quote Dwight D. Eisenhower on this: plans are worthless, but planning is everything. So I think the context here is war. I know for a fact that Eisenhower actually did plan his day in an organized manner, but the basic idea is that you can't be too rigid. That I think in the context of war, something like all your plans go out the window when you in the first engagement with the enemy. And then in positive psychology, a flow state, which is also known as being in the zone, is the mental state in which a person performing some activity is fully immersed in a feeling of energized focus, full involvement, and enjoyment in the process of the activity. And I like to point out that you can, and I do, get in the flow within my time blocks. So especially for the content development time blocks that I block out almost every day, I definitely get in the flow, at least most of the time. So time blocking, even if you're a super creative, doesn't mean that you can't or won't get into the flow of your creative focus. So the action item for this week is first ask yourself, where in your life you could use a little bit more structure. Where would you really benefit from more organization and planning? Here's a hint. If you're the type of person who thinks that structure kills creativity, then you very probably need to add some more structure. Then ask yourself where you can relax, improvise, and maybe go with the flow a bit more. Where you possibly do structure. So if you're the type of person who lives and dies by their plans and their schedule, and you feel that if you go with the flow, your head will explode, which I kind of tend to be more in that category, there are very probably areas where you need to chill out a little bit. So the basic thought reminder is you need to strike a balance, and it needs to be your balance. So it's go for the Goldilocks level of structure in your life. So I have a question for you. Are you an entrepreneur who's highly motivated to improve your productivity, but you still struggle with procrastination or regularly find yourself neglecting your highest priority task? Then schedule a free 30-minute quick start to time blocking working session with me, and I'll show you how to beat procrastination and get your shit done. So I have a limited number of time blocks available in my calendar, so grab a slot while you can. Open the floor up to questions and discussions. Morning, Gina. Morning, Morris. How are you guys doing this morning?
I'm great. I got here a little bit late, but I think I got the majority of it.
Hello, good morning. Well, good evening from my end, but good morning for you guys.
Morning, evening. Morris, do you think you're more in the category of or lean more towards go with the flow as far as your natural approach or mindset? Or are you more into the structure or superstructure category?
I asked myself this exact question as I was listening to your workshop here. And it seems like it depends on the activity. There's activities where I really enjoy going with the flow, and then there's activities where I really want that structure. So I'm not entirely sure what my personality is here.
Well, there's probably not one. I mean, some people probably peg it pretty far on one side or the other. I will own to being pretty structured or being very focused. And some of that's probably just natural characteristics. Some of it probably comes out of having a long career as a project manager and running projects and project team. I think I've also done a pretty good job, even over the last 6 months, of getting a little bit more intentional about the flow side of things, about taking breaks, being sure I build in rest, recharge, and being flexible about my daily schedule, which is, shit happens. And one of the reasons I like doing my schedule in a digital calendar is it's very easy to make adjustments and move things around. Kind of cross the bridge that it's not a failure if I make some change during the day. I mean, my basic goal is to get, the core stuff done. If I end up working on a block of content development an hour later than I'd originally planned first thing in the morning, as long as I get to it, same. So Gina, where would you put yourself in that spectrum, do you think?
I'm a go with the flow person. You know that, right?
I know. I was just curious if you knew.
Yeah, I mean, no, obviously I've been working for a really, really long time. Yeah. And I've told you this before that I had success as a college professor, just anchoring what I needed to do based upon the courses that I would teach. So I would have a mental anchor, and then I would know, okay, well, department meeting is right after this course or whatever, But then when I moved to be an entrepreneur, the mental anchors no longer worked because I was brand new doing it. And then I started learning how to time block and goal set. And the time blocking and the goal setting are the two things that help me move forward.
Yeah, I just had a question that just came up. So I love to-do lists and I love writing down goals. Yeah. It's something that I just feels good to me. I want to see it all laid out in front of me. Then, for example, for a day, I'm like, okay, today I need to produce one video. I need to write copy for a client, right? Mm-hmm. I put down my goals for the day, but then I go in when I do the activity, I go in the flow. How would you classify that?
And let me just ask, do you block out one or more work blocks that represent the work you need to do to achieve those two goals? For example, I want to record one video today. Based on your experience, do you block out like a 90-minute block or two 60-minutes? How do you plan that out in your calendar?
I have a start time and I'm done when I'm done. Like I know when I'm gonna start. I'm gonna do this at 1 p.m. right? Because it's like rolling my sleeves. I'm like, I'm doing this at 1 p.m. I know from experience this is how long it takes me. But sometimes it just takes longer and sometimes I'm faster, right? And then afterwards I take a break and then I do the second thing.
But since you don't put the end on your first thing, does that mean that you don't block out the second thing because you don't know when it's going to start?
Yeah, exactly. I have a second block because I know I have to do it, but I can like estimate I'm going to do it at, I don't know, 3:30 or 4 or 4:30, right? But I can't be sure that I can do it at exactly that time because I really want to finish that video, right?
Yeah.
Something I don't do is, so if I start working on something and I know this is my goal for today, I want to do this today, I don't complete it just because I'm going overtime. That's my question. That's my point. Like, how do you classify that?
Well, wait, I'm not sure I understood that last. So you don't, I mean, your goal is to get it done, regardless of how long it actually takes, correct?
Yeah, unless it's like something that blows out of proportions, right? But if it's something that I do regularly and I know, oh, this usually takes me between 2 and 3 hours, right? If I schedule 2 hours, I think it's going to take me 2 hours. I'm not going to stop after 2 hours and not complete the task because that was my goal for today.
Okay, so I'd say that's kind of a hybrid approach to time blocking. Let me make the case that you could. So let's take the particular example. Record this video. So you do a lot of videos. You have a pretty good feel for how long it's generally going to take. For discussion's sake, it's 3 hours. So based on your understanding of the the natural rhythms, the ultradian rhythms, then that typically you have a 90-minute upwave and then it sinks down, and then you've got a 20 to 30-minute period where if you don't rest and recharge, then your batteries start draining. So I would make the case that, and you can always give it a try and see, you might be better to just block out 90 minutes with a 30-minute rest in between. And then for that second one, you can always keep going if you haven't gotten done in the period of time that you originally thought it would take. And I'll do the same thing. Like, if I typically block out 90 minutes for content development, but if I'm rolling like on a editing, especially if I see the end in sight, I might go ahead and go another 30 minutes and just get it wrapped up, which then means I need to make adjustments for my calendar for the rest of the day. But that's fine. So Mars, I'm not sure, did that answer your question or not?
Yeah, 100%. Like, initially my question was, I was curious how you would classify that approach, right? Because that was your question.
Right.
But the way you expanded on it, I really, really like that. Stick to the block, because I do see improvements with time blocking. Like, there is no doubt about it. Like, time blocking it's deceivingly simple to how much you get out of it, right?
Yes, exactly.
But I like this idea that I stick to the block. The second block is open-ended, kind of. Not open-ended, but right, like exactly like you said, video editing, it's the best example you could have made, Stephen, because video editing is like, you can't precisely predict, right? Sometimes you're super fast, sometimes you're slower. And when you see the end in sight,
right,
you just want to wrap it up because it feels good to wrap it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Having that kind of fixed block with the understanding I can keep going is my choice, but also keeping in the back of my mind, I'm probably going to be more productive if I get to a good stopping point and then stop at around the 90-minute mark, and then rest and relax and recharge and then pick it back up.
The way you explained this, it really reminds me of running a marathon or just generally running, right? If you run too fast at the beginning, you run out of juice.
Yep.
That's like doing a 3-hour session nonstop.
Yep.
But if you stick to time blocking and you respect your ultradian rhythm, you can get so much more done on an enjoyable energy level. The way a runner needs to space out their energy and refuel during the race, to complete it.
His book was called Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience. And if you notice right at the top of what I posted, the activity is intrinsically rewarding. And that's really when you get in flow.
Right.
When you find that the activity is not intrinsically rewarding, what I find is I have to do other techniques to keep me moving forward.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining, and everybody have a good rest of your Sunday.
Yeah, you too. And see you later.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching this video recording from my live weekly workshop. Every Sunday, I feature instantly actionable steps you can take to overcome procrastination, increase your productivity, and get your shit done. Followed up by Q&A and discussion with the live participants. I really hope you found this video useful and you feel like watching it was time well spent. Please post any questions or comments you have. I always answer posts. I'd appreciate it very much if you would like this video and subscribe to my channel. And if you know anyone that would enjoy and benefit from this particular episode, please send them the link. Stay productive, my friends.